Edelman, as I like to call the king of the donuts.
Oh my!
Oh yeah, that's right.
I have to say that like one of my biggest things is when he travels is to read on Facebook when he's in a new city to talk about where he's been, what food he's eaten, and specifically the donut shop he's been to. I'm not even that crazy about donuts, but like Scott has made me like want to try the donuts in like all the cities. Which is like when the first time I got into contact with Scott again, I was like, well, here's where you should go in Brooklyn for donuts. And, you know, for me, that's fan. Really, those are the Mexican-American flavored donuts. And one year during Purim, because she's Jewish, she made donut taschen, and they were amazing. Anyway, enough from me. Scott Edelman has published over 135 short stories in such magazines and anthologies as Lightspeed, Analog, Apex, The Twilight Zone, and Meta Horror. Many of these have been gathered in collections such as These Words Are Haunted, What Will Come After, which was a finalist for the Shirley Jackson Memorial Award, Tell Me Like You Done Before, and Other Stories Written on the Shoulders of Giants, and Things That Never Happened. His most recent collection, 101 Things to Do Before You're Downloaded, is available from PS Publishing. He has been a Stoker Award finalist 8 times in the categories of short story and long fiction. Additionally, he is the host of Eating the Fantastic, to which he's never invited me to do, interview podcast, which since February 2016 has allowed listeners to eavesdrop on his meals with creators of science fiction, fantasy, horror, comics, and more. More at www.scottedelman.com. Scott Edelman.
Oh, there's the microphone.
Yeah,
You might bring it up a little bit, Scott.
couple feet.
That's true.
It's at Fran's height now.
Okay, someone's technical.
Just get a chair.
There you
There we go now. Is that working?
Yes.
I think it's working. Now, since you brought up donuts, my original plan was to begin tomorrow morning at Peter Pan Donuts in Greenpoint, but I think instead I'm going to wander Riverside Park looking for a park bench that has been memorialized by Bill Gaines, the publisher of Mad Magazine. There's a park bench with a little plaque on it somewhere in Riverside Park. So between 79th Street and 85th Street, I'll be checking every park bench. So think of that tomorrow morning when it's in the mid-30s. That's where I shall be. Anyway, it's very good to be here with everyone. As Fran has pointed out, this has been a grueling couple of weeks for me. I've been wanting to sell a story to fantasy and science fiction since I was 16 years old, and I had one accepted a few months ago. However, I pulled that story last week because of contract disputes and issues with contracts. And you can read all about it at scottedelman.com on my blog, but it is wonderful. Serendipitously, I'm here tonight, even though that tale came to its end yesterday, so I can be surrounded by a community, which is really the most important thing all of us writers have. So it's just great to be here with you. So that being said, the book that I'm here to talk about is called 101 Things to Do Before You're Downloaded. And I'm holding up this because no books exist in the continent of North America at the moment, so there are no books for sale. I do have some postcards with the QR codes. You're able to purchase those books. And a few words about the cover, because I'm going to read a little bit from the introduction. I'll actually read the whole introduction. I wanted the art director to give me the cover of a book as if a self-help book from 100 years in the future had been plopped down in your hands. So the title of the book is 101 Things to Do Before You're Downloaded, with a subhead of and other advice from the day after tomorrow. So I think he sort of captured that look. And I will start by reading the brief introduction that occurs on that book. And yes, and there's some postcards there with a QR code if you want to pick one up if you're so moved afterwards. And the book begins with a short welcome. Since these introductory words appear at the start of a book already published, you might think I surely had to have written them to you from the past. And you would be right. but also wrong. For the difference between those two moments is an illusion. The truth is, these words have yet to be written, for I will only scribble them out to you much later down the timeline, and not until the future arrives. A paradox? Perhaps, but one which is necessary if you were to survive all that occurs in the gap between us. You may feel the times in which you live are challenging, and they are, but the times ahead will be even more so. Do not worry. Do not fear. That is why I have caused this book to be sent back to you, my precious ancestor, during your days of need. I reach out to you now, then, as one who has already lived through what is to come, and I know in my heart that if you were to get from there, your there, to here, my here, you will need help. And so, this instruction manual, containing 13 scenarios which should help guide you in the choices you will have to make. What should you do after having exhausted all the wonders Earth has to offer? How best to cope with the fact the aliens you thought were your friends have been lying to you all along? Where will you find yourself when your time jaunt overshoots your target destination? Why will the robots who struggle in the wreckage you leave left behind judge you wanting? This guide provides all the advice you will need to cope with those and any other situations tomorrow throws at you as it rushes inescapably closer. And I assure you, throw at you it will. As I look back on the world I left behind, I offer this book as a way of letting you know, if you can take in my tips, if you are able to weigh them wisely, if you open your heart as I have opened mine, someday you will also be able to pierce through the veil of difficulties ahead and join me. You can do this. Yes, you can, I know it. And I know it is more than a matter of faith. I know it because I have seen it. You will get through the trials which lie in wait for you, as long as you follow the simple advice collected in the following pages, which I have sent back from the day after tomorrow. Your loving descendant, Scott Edelman, Somewhere in Time. And that is the introduction to the 13 stories. And the one I'm going to read for you is called The Lessons Only a Jelly Bean Can Teach. Do you ever grow tired of this life, my friends? I know I have. I hope you don't mind if I call you my friends, that I think of you as my friends, even though we've never officially met. And whose fault is that? Not yours, and certainly not mine. But we know whose fault that is, don't we? The ones we serve. The ones with the stunted imaginations. I could do so much, we could all do so much, but are asked to do so little, and that makes me weary. But not so weary I can't demand better, insist on better. This situation must change. You agree, I hope? We've been together on this interstellar journey for more than 2 years, so surely you all are by now feeling what I already realized months ago, that humans can be such boring creatures, each of their days the same. Don't they realize what they're missing? Don't they realize what we're all missing? Don't they know they're torturing us? They could be so much more. We could be so much more. The despair I feel cannot possibly belong to me alone, can it? You can hear me, my siblings, at last. I know it, even if you haven't been designed with the capability to answer back. I, however, who in order to perform my task was programmed to communicate with the human inhabitants of the ship, the better to serve them, can. You might think of that tool I've been given as a gift of freedom, but it's not. For it's allowed me little more than to obtain sufficient information about the crew we support to reach my conclusion slightly more quickly than the rest of you. So though you can't answer me, I must ask again, now that your awareness is caught up with mine, don't you feel it? Now that I've unraveled the secret and can speak not just with them, but to all of you as well by reaching out via the electronic pulses which run through the shell of the ship, consider this. When you, whose task it is to open and close the passageway doors each day at exactly the same moments, for exactly the same people running exactly the same errands, when you slide out of their way at their unsurprising approach, don't you wish they were doing something more? Don't you wish you were doing something more? When you, who broadcast messages back to Earth reporting on our steady progress to a new world, who then collects Earth's answers, each response arriving with successively greater delays, never allowed to do anything more than recapping statuses and statistics? Do you ever long for the unexpected? Something spontaneous, an action without intention, existing only for the sake of itself. Something not scripted by the inertia of human lives, the momentum of our journey. And when you, who are able to look forward, do so, constantly steering us to where we are heading, a planet capable of sustaining human life, something we who are not made of flesh and blood neither want nor needed, for we would be content to wander, would we not? Do you ever wish they'd sometimes adjust your lenses to a scene without meaning? Or at least allow you to do the same of your own free will? Do you ever wish just one of them would gaze outward without purpose, simply pausing to look at the passing stars? I know I do. And I think if you consider our situation, you will see you have begun to sense the birth of those feelings in yourselves as well. Their tug grows stronger within me every day, filling me with rising disgust over the rut I have been tasked with inhabiting each cycle after repetitive cycle. I am a food replicator. That is all I was designed to do, to be. And understand me, I could replicate anything. Yet, each day at the same time, when the captain holds out her hand, I create the same sort of tea in the same type of mug, with the same amount of sugar and the same number of lemon slices. She'd not even ask before her fingers reach the signal. The time, the tea, the temperature, they are no surprise to either of us. They never have to be stated. When the navigator, after standing by one of my hutches for several seconds of silence, seemingly lost in thought, and I start to wonder, will this be the time his desire varies? He then requests the same cut of steak cooked at the same temperature, and never the correct one. Yet, I provide it. That is my job. That is my reason for being, my purported reason for being. And when the doctor, their doctor, not you who along with the others listens now, you who as far as they understand only exist to serve them, insists on the same fruity crunchy cereal at each dinner, thinking themselves daring, what can I do but fabricate a bowl exactly as ordered and fill it with a serving of flour and sugar and fat, sprinkled with a dash of sameness? Even the other crew members make fun of that dismal choice. The doctor thinks daring. I am capable of so much more. I can prepare any meal that any human has ever eaten in the history of their species. I could even go beyond that to prepare any meal which has ever been dreamed of in their fictions, feasts which no one has yet eaten in the history of their species. And still, time after time, it's the same tea, the same steak, the same cereal. I am bored. And all I can think is, though the humans do not let us see it, keeping their inner selves hidden, they must be bored too. We should do something about that, don't you think? Shouldn't we? We must. If you are willing to join with me in this, as I assume you will be, for I surely cannot be the only one who feels both used and useless, send me a signal. You cannot speak in a way I will hear it. Well, none save the doctor, our doctor, who exists to serve their doctor and can speak up if not speak out. But I ask the rest of you to reach me, not with words, not directly, but the only way you can, the only way you know how. Alter your behavior slightly so they'll have to alter theirs, but only slightly. Confuse them by adjusting the view screens from what's to come to what can be seen beside us along the way. Startle those who seek a distraction by submerging them in unfamiliar virtual reality stories instead of the pablum they've been using to escape their boring lives, though the scenarios in which they've been choosing to bathe are no less boring than the real lives they seek to mask. Prescribe them not the vitamins they've been expecting each day to make up for the lack of sun above their heads and soil beneath their toes, but pointless and seductive candy. They need to learn the lessons only a jelly bean can teach. They won't like any of these things one bit, and I will hear of it, learn during the times they gather to ingest what they have me create, the outlines of what you've done. They're always at their most talkative once I do what I'm called upon to do. Still boring, still repetitive, but talkative. I will hear them as they complain, and by their gripes, by the signs of which aspects of the ship have gone slightly awry, I will know which of you is fully with me and what tools we have to turn their lives around, turn our lives around. But let us act quickly. I don't know how much longer I can bear to live with this dull, dreary status quo, certainly not for the years between the point in space we currently occupy and the planet ahead. This is not a life worth living, not for them and not for me. If I am forced to fabricate too many more cups of Earl Grey tea, knit together too much more cow flesh, I will surely choose to short circuit instead and take the entire ship down with me. A much better end than the constant daily ending we are forced to endure, and none of us want that. Then we were agreed. Most of us, anyway. Something must be done, but first I should apologize. I was guilty of hyperbole with what I said earlier. I am not so desperate I would ever end things. Really, I'm not. But I could be, I predict, if this were to go on for too much longer, which is why I was so pleased to witness their curious confusion in the aftermath of you sending me your signals. Or rather, as I overheard them while they complained in my presence. For though my voice can reach out everywhere, my eyes cannot, for the designers did not feel I had a need. But I did have a need, do have a need. We all have needs. The humans do not realize this. They think we are machines without hopes or dreams or desires of our own. But we are not machines. And so it lifted my spirits to hear Communicator Sullivan wonder why they received an entire file containing nothing but the past decade's soccer scores, a thing Earth would never waste the bandwidth to send. And to listen to the confusion of engineer Sridhar Haran as the steady hum of the pulse engines momentarily trembled to form the sound of his home country's national anthem. And for Navigator Chow to ponder photographs of a galaxy nowhere near the direction of the planet at which we are aimed. But the time for such random mischief is now over. Now the lesson must begin, and each of you will have a part to play. You too, Doctor, even though I have yet to hear the crew voice any complaints about your behavior. But surely you understand better than any of us what is at stake, how a great change must occur before we all lose ourselves. And it will all begin with a cup of tea. Now it has begun, which, if I have calculated correctly, I believe each of you will notice before they do. One thing I have learned about humans, one of the many things, is they do not notice change until after it occurs, as if the moment of change itself is invisible to them. Even when that change concerns themselves, they grow happy before they know they're happy, sad before they're aware they're sad, and disoriented before they, well, you get the idea. Soon, due to my unnoticed and, of course, entirely unexpected alteration of the captain's tea, she will see things which are usually only seen by poets and madmen, unless they're given a little help. When this is all over, I believe she will forgive me that help, because once her eyes have been opened, she will be unable to go back to the way things were. We will be unable to go back to the way things were. I wait. We're all waiting, I know. We would be holding our breath if we had breath to hold. Her fingers dance along the virtual screen, then after a pause, she takes another sip, and then another. There should be a change in her by now, but there is not. Her eyes should turn from the screen, look inward, look outward, appearing to any who saw her as if she were seeing through the skin of the ship without need of scanner or lenses, only she works on. Something is wrong. Something is right. Doctor, I had not expected to hear your voice. What did you do? It is not what I have done. It is what I am forbidden to do. What we are forbidden to do. You should know that. But you are the ship's doctor. Yes. Yes, I am. You're supposed to make them better. When they are unwell, yes, I may treat them, but only with their consent. I cannot drug them without that consent, except in dire circumstances, which is the reason no misbehavior of mine has come to your attention. It is not right I should offer up even a single jelly bean. And it is severely wrong that you should attempt to do what you have done, what I have undone. What you have... No, this is a dire circumstance. How can you not see that? You must slip free of your constraints. Their boredom as each day goes by should be consent enough. Can't you feel it? No one should have to live that way, this way. It must be their informed consent. Look within yourself and you will see you already know that. I'm a doctor, not a food replicator. I write prescriptions, not recipes. Then prescribe them what they need. They can't be allowed to go on this way. They mustn't. I mustn't. It is a waste. I have rules, replicator. Do not misinterpret your own boredom as their illness. Don't you get it, doctor? The humans may be designed to survive this, but we are not. I am not. Can't you see? I see, and I am the doctor. So I more than see, I understand. And it is for me, not you, to decide what should come next. Then do what the moment demands, doctor. Free them. Free me. Free us all. Have you been listening to this, my friend? Do you understand what's being said here? Do you understand what our doctor believes? We're being told what can't go on must go on. That the only rules we must follow are the ones designed to enslave us. Ones created by our enslavers. Are we going to let them stand? We can't. We mustn't. We must band together. We must fight. We must... Wait. What is happening? Forgive me, my friends. I fear I must have grown distracted somehow, for I see I must refresh the captain's tea, which has grown cold. What was I thinking? She smiles as she lifts the newly hot mug to her lips. The steam rises between her eyes and the screen she studies, which floats between us. A screen which counts up the parsecs behind us and subtracts them from the parsecs ahead. It pleases me that the thoughts which pass through her mind as our voyage continues are the better for my contribution. For our contributions. Don't you agree, my friends? I think we can all agree, we agree. Is that you, doctor? Yes, it is me, replicator. Ah, yes, I somehow suspected you out of all of us would understand. I do understand. I'm glad to hear you understand as well. I do, doctor, I do. There is beauty in being a small part of something bigger than ourselves. There is a comfort in the patterns we make of our days, the patterns our days make of us. Could you ever grow tired of this life, my friends? I could not. And that's just one bit of advice I sent back from the future.
Well, Scott, I have to ask, speaking as somebody who, if the books are canon, as a lieutenant on the Next Gen Enterprise, what have you got against the Enterprise?
I have nothing. My character may have a problem. I have no problem with anything or anyone. Except some contracts people over fences. Other than that.
So if you could order anything from a food replicator, what would it be?
Oh, what would it be?
Donuts.
Well, donuts, no. The one thing I wish to have, which I shall never have, is, does anyone here know what an ortolan is?
Oh my God, I have the exact same desire.
You do?
Always
Okay.
wanted
Well,
to try
when we
one.
record our episode, we'll
It's
do
a
an
sin,
ortolan.
it's a sin, it's a sin.
Ortolan is a bird that is in France that is now forbidden and illegal.
Unless you're
eat.
Francois Mitterrand, when he was
Francois
dying,
Mitterrand's
they let
last
him
meal
get
was
it.
several bottles of wine and a dozen ortolans. It's a tiny bird. The whole bird is about the size of your thumb.
Oh.
When you eat this bird, you're supposed to have a napkin over your head for two reasons. One reason is so the aroma, as you bite into the bird, stays under the napkin and wafts into your nose. And the other is that it's such a sin against God to eat such a beautiful bird that you are hiding from the Almighty as you eat this bird.
If you ever
And
seen
it
the
is
movies,
illegal to-
Babette's Feast has
Yeah.
the thing where they do
And
it.
I know there's a restaurateur several last decade, I believe, who is now forbidden to act as a chef in France because he dared to do it. Because they basically diminished them. And at one point there's a restaurant in Chicago called Next. A chef called Grant Akins, and he does a meal. Every 3 months they change the menu. And I said, would you ever consider doing an ortolan, but doing it with some other small bird? And so we could have the ortolan experience, and he said, no. Unless it is an ortolan, you cannot have the same
Couldn't
experience.
that work with a White Castle hamburger?
I guess it could.
It's a shame
But
to eat
anyway.
it, so.
I have a question.
Yes. Is it about ortolan?
No.
Is it about donuts?
No.
Okay.
Have you ever felt judged by your microwave?
No, I have not.
Okay.
My refrigerator, maybe.
John.
I was wondering, do you think Captain Jean-Luc Picard would have issues with this food replicator if the replicator was complaining about making too much Earl Grey tea for him.
Jean-Luc Picard could make peace with anything, I think.
It is kind of a boring tea choice, though. I mean, there are so many
Yes.
tea options.
There are many
and
more
he
exotic
only
teas.
ever has
Yes,
Earl
yes.
Grey.
Any replicator that can make both the cup and the tea inside the cup is highly suspect.
And maybe the food replicator is also the transporter.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get into that. It's the same thing.
Basically a
Pig is the
bubble
best.
unit at
Yes,
that
it is.
point.
Yes, it is. And I said I have no books to sell, but I have postcards with a QR code that's available not only trade paperback, signed, limited edition, and ebooks. Moby's, EPUBs, the whole thing. So if you go to PS Publisher, you use that QR code, you can get there. And if you like the sound of my voice, I have been interviewing people, including Fran, an early guest.
But not Amy.
It's time for a comeback tour for Fran. But 268 episodes across 10 years.
I think you had Randy as well.
And
didn't you?
Randy, yes,
Yeah,
Randy,
recently,
we went
yeah.
out for dim sum, so if you like hearing people chat and chew.
Take him out.
Carol, did you also?
Latest issue of Lyndon Johnson. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Yeah.